Wind up at the Beef CRC3 this year, we've been keen to ensure that key projects, key resources and key knowledge is maintained to be able to deliver ongoing genetic benefits for the Australian beef and for the Australian lamb industry. Our co-funding of the beef information nucleus herds, alongside our funding of the sheep resource flocks, or information nucleus flocks as they were known, are key to us being able to maintain substantial progress in genetics. Now, there's been a lot said, so let me be clear. The business case for us in investing in beef and sheep meat industries money into these information nucleus herds and flocks is strong. The business case that we have looked at, considering our investment, looks at a whole range of factors. But in just one of those factors, around eating quality and genomic testing, the ability for us to test for improved carcass yield whilst maintaining eating quality in sheep alone makes this a justifiable investment in information nucleus flocks. Work out of the sheep CRC already shows that if we continue to grow our prime lambs at the rate they're growing in terms of genetic gain, if we continue to strive for increased lean meat yield, we are going to lead to a decrease in the eating quality for lamb. Now, lamb is not the cheapest protein on the shelf, nor does it need to be. It can afford to be the premium protein for consumers, provided it continues to deliver the quality attributes that those consumers are prepared to pay for. And central to that quality attribute is the eating quality of the product. So in the sheep meat industry, we need to find a way to ensure the combined goals of increasing carcass weight, because that's a key platform for keeping ahead of that increasing input costs for producers, combined with increasing lean meat yield, because you don't get a lot of money for bone and fat these days, does not lead to a trade-off in eating quality of the final product. On this front alone, the value proposition for investing into information nucleus flocks, we expect to provide us with a potential return on investment and represent a $1.5 billion net present value return to the industry over the next 25 years. If we can double the genetic gain in terms of carcass growth, in terms of carcass weight, whilst not trading off that eating quality, there's a $1.5 billion return to the industry over this next 25 years. Worst case scenario, if we keep going down the track we're going, if we keep the current rate of growth in both carcass weights and lean meat yield and don't do any work, we will lose eating quality, and we forecast that will cost us about $1.2 billion over that same period. So the case to do nothing is a $1.2 billion loss. The case for investing in the information nucleus flock to link the physical and phenotype outcomes with the genetic tools that allow us to map the genetics that we're looking for across the Australian flock is substantial and important. Now, central to this is genomics and the ability for the continued decreasing costs of tools to allow us to map DNA. I mean, it's been one of the fastest growing technologies, and we've seen a significant and rapid decrease in the price of the tools available for producers to now carry out DNA tests on individual animals. Now, costs currently can be down around the ballpark of $40 to $50, and there's everything to suggest that they will be down further in years to come. The importance for us as a sheep meat industry and as a beef industry has been knowing the DNA makeup of those animals is only of value if you can also know what the phenotypic or the physical outcome of that sequencing of genes is going to mean. And for us to be able to do that, we need to take physical measurements to go alongside genetic data. The collection of that physical data, especially the hard to measure traits such as eating quality, as intermuscular fat, traits like feed conversion efficiency in cattle, require a resource herd or a resource flock representative of the industry genetics to allow us to make that link between the genetics and the physical outcomes. And that's what we as MLA and our partners at AMPC in the meat processing sector are investing in when we're investing in continuation of these resource flocks and resource herds. Now, we also see these flocks and herds as an additional tool for us. They allow us to carry out other research of use to the industries. They allow us to test the impact of specific nutrient treatments on animals' performance. They allow us to test the efficiency of new pharmaceuticals. They allow us to carry out a whole lot of R&D in areas such as feed efficiency, methane production, animal behaviour, remote animal technologies. And they do that because they're closely monitored. They have their data and their performances recorded, and they're representative of the total industry genetic pool. So let me quickly look to the future and look forward. And I'd say a lot of my time over the past year has been in consultation with our levy payers, hearing what they're needing from their R&D and their marketing servicing company. I continue to say there's nothing like having 45,000 independent bosses because you're never short on advice on what you should be doing. In fact, yesterday morning I had the pleasure of speaking at a LambX conference down in Bendigo that had a fantastic turn-up of between 600 and 700 passionate prime lamb producers at. And in the 35 minutes it took me to walk from the front door to where I was to deliver the speech, I'd been told by 15 people what I should be saying when I get up onto the stage. A bit of difference today because today it was more about being told by 12 or so staff what I shouldn't be saying when I get up on stage. I apologise in advance. So many of the messages that I've heard over that time, and it's been in consultations from Broome all the way through to Bendigo, is actually backed up by some research that has just been done for the cattle industry and research on the back of their development of a new beef industry strategic plan. So this is market research that was done independently of around 700 producers, and it was conducted in early June this year. Now the survey asked was in the top of mind issues affecting beef producers in their enterprises. And they approached it from two fronts. They asked about what are the issues confronting you at the moment, what are the opportunities you see for you at the moment. When we look at the issues confronting people at the moment, the top four were rising input costs, cattle prices, market access, and export markets. Now, for those journalists who continue to have a desire to link everything we do with stories for live exports, live exports was ranked 10th, with 4% of producers rating it as one of their most important issues for their enterprise. But without a doubt, for that 4%, it's probably the most important issue for their enterprise. The same research asked the producers what are the opportunities for them going forward. Now, number one, improved market access. Number two, improved clean, high-quality product. 3, better export markets. And 4, improved production strategies. And for completeness, live exports were ranked 10th, with 2% of producers rating it as their most important opportunity for their enterprise going forward. Now, those priorities align neatly with what we hear when we go around talking to our levy payers and our stakeholders. And they form the basis of our plans going forward. I and the board are driven to ensure that MLA is focused on its core business and executes that business with the precision and the passion that our members have for their business and their industries. Over this past year, we've been developing key 3 to 5 year investment strategies for each of our program areas. These have been developed at all times in close consultation with industry, both reference groups and representative groups. And these will form the framework for our focus and our investments through to the end of the current strategic plans at 2015. We've realigned our staffing structures to ensure that we're as efficient and have as direct alignment as possible with these investment strategies, and also to provide clarity to staff and to stakeholders about the job that's expected of them and the goals that they're expected to achieve. Now, our priorities for 2012 to 2015 intend to address a number of the key issues that I just read out that our producers have top of mind. Let me just outline 4 of these at the moment. The first one is to increase the consumer's demand for beef.